I think the comments on energy efficient nation is good, but to mix electricity supply or energy in general with transport energy is not quite right because they're two different animals. As I think Dato mentioned, transport takes nearly 50%, so let's leave that out of it. Now, in terms of energy efficient nation, power generation actually becomes efficient by default because the suppliers make technological advances over time. So as you replace power plants and bring in new power plants, they are more efficient. As an example, Paka was designed for 46%. I think the PD one is 60%, and the newer one's probably more than that. But the issue is the user end. Our policy has always been on the supply side to make sure there's enough capacity to feed customer demand. But the government has not looked at it from the user end. If you reduce, as Dato mentioned, 1 kilowatt hour use, you save probably between 2 and 3 kilowatt hours in primary energy, depending on the technology that is used. Now, I say politically incorrect. I think our government has screwed up by conflicting policies. You want transport, you have national automotive policy to increase cars, and you do not bother about public transport sufficiently until now. In terms of energy, as Dr. Philip Tan mentioned, cogeneration is the most efficient, but it is not actively encouraged. Energy efficiency appliances, the SAFE program was an unmitigated success. SIDA and KETA did this, but why is it not replicated on a wider scale? Substantially, I must say I'm a passionate nut on EE, and I believe that the amount of energy efficiency savings that can be possible within half a decade to 1 decade with reasonable emphasis, not going overboard on it, can be more than the capacity of 1,000 megawatts of power generation.
Thank you very much for your comment. I just want to, I'm conscious of time. I'd like to give the opportunity to Mr. Rosman also, because I appreciate that.
I just say, look at it more from the user point of view perspective, not just the industries, but the consumers. And in terms of consumers, our tariffs are not right because the people who get the highest subsidy use the highest, and they should not be given subsidized tariffs. Thank you.
My question is actually for Dato Razak, because just now Dr. Philip Tan was giving a lot of ideas on off-peak and what I call it, peak and off-peak rates. So if we have such thing as off-peak rates, maybe at night or weekends, we can actually do a lot of our work like washing up or things like that using electricity at the off-peak hours. Is there any plans for Malaysia to introduce off-peak and peak hours for domestic rate, so domestic market?
Okay, fair question. The answer is yes. Okay, but we have gone through various studies involving tariff design actually. I would say that our design that is being practiced today is quite archaic. It has been there for so long. It has been tweaked up and down to rebalance as and when there was a need to do so, to adjust for fuel. And what the government said was not trying to give the full impact down to the consumer end. As a result, this rebalancing meant that some sectors of population had a little bit of adjustment upwards, whilst trying to bring the consumer end at a lower level for especially industries and commercials. This cannot go on forever. We have already had discussions with the regulator of the Kementerian to say that we would like to have some kind of a new tariff design coming along. One, the objective is to have cost reflectivity. We must offer the basic cost of electricity must reflect the cost of supply, so that I'm not talking about IPPs or TNB, I would say that whoever has ventured into this business or this sector will be adequately compensated. Some of which are under regulation, which is fine, then the player will have to be rewarded according to a certain level of profitability, and others who would compete for the business like the IPPs and TNB generation. We are not offering cost reflectivity at the moment. There's a lot of redesign, readjustments, rebalancing to be done. When we talk to Suruhanjaya Tenaga, what they're saying is that we are in the process of reviewing the whole tariff. I mean, there's no secret, everybody is talking about it. Yeah, but until this is done, until this is settled, there's not much use in trying to push in another agenda that will just confuse matters. But I can tell you for sure, the time of use day tariff will be implemented in due course. This will also mean customers may have to play their part. For example, there might be an option for customers who want to take part in this, may have to change their meters to something which is quite smart, which will then be able to sense the light of day and tell you whether day or night or change over your tariff level. Otherwise, the standard meter that you have now will not be able to do it.
Hey, to me, my comment on this is this, is the meters, whatever is put in is part of the regulated assets, all right? If you put in as smart meters, it helps the country. You can put whatever meters you install in the house or in the factory can be put under the regulated assets of TNB and it will be paid for by the public in general, all right? So it is not necessary for you to actually make the consumer pay for a meter.
Okay, let me.
I'm sorry, I just have to respond to that one.
This is exciting. Wow.
I can't resist this. Unfortunately, you cannot, I think it's probably not fair to levy it across the board because not all levels of customers are paying true cost. For example, those enjoying less than 200 kilowatt hours per month now are getting supply below cost.
But that can still go on, is it?
Yeah.
But what are you doing with FIT? Isn't it all the customer paying for the FIT?
No.
You level 1%, 2% on me.
Less than 300 kilowatt hours,
Okay.
you don't pay.
What we've heard a lot today is very much on the demand side, not too much on the supply side, because I think after the meter is where we are all very concerned about what the government can do to actually assist in terms of providing more incentives and so on for the increase in hike in tariff that's about to come. My second question is more directly towards the economic transformation project, of which we have a specific program on energy efficiency. Yeah, under the EPP 9 oil and gas, the NKEA, we have also a program called Government Lead by Example. Now, I think the most important step for the government also is to show that you set the example. But the truth is this program is not moving. So the government buildings must also show that they are efficient. And the whole idea of the economic transformation program is actually to interface with the business community. Yeah, and this doesn't seem to be happening. So can you have some comments, right?
There are a lot of things that are happening actually. Just specifically one example is the Prime Minister's department, the office itself, Parcel A. There's a number of things that has already been done and in progress of being done in terms of the heat, the cooling systems, the lighting, etc. And as I remember, actually there has already been some significant energy savings. Although, having said that, I think one of the things that we need to improve on the government is simply even our procurement process takes years sometimes to actually do all these things. And the other part is actually our communications in terms of letting people know. My experience, I come from the private sector and I see that actually the government guys actually when they want to communicate something, they want to double check, triple check, quadruple check, make sure it's correct. And so I think that's why it's sometimes slow to get the word out. I think the key summary that I will give is that, yes, things are being done. Government leads by example. One interesting actually that the KSU is trying to spearhead is to make available the energy or electricity usage for each of the government buildings within Putrajaya. Of course, this one also has certain amount of resistance in terms of is the number accurate? Is it fair to actually single us out for X ministry because we are working late all the time? So these are all some of the change management that needs to be done. But remember, the ETP is a 10-year program. We are on our 3rd year, so still toddler. So we still have a long ways to go. I feel actually that we have set a good foundation to move forward. Government is also trying to learn from our past mistakes and trying to correct those in moving forward. Some of the mistakes were pointed out today, actually. And so to balance that between the economic needs of the country, the inconvenience or discomfort to the consumer, and to the end effect of sustainability. I'll end with that.
So will subsidies to the IPPs and TNB be cut off or reduced when the tariff goes up? And if yes, how much of an amount will be reduced? And how much is the government providing to the TNB and IPP on subsidies right now?
I think there is a misconception, the way the FMN sees it. There's misconception that the IPPs are subsidized, right? That the gas to IPP is subsidized. I think that is not the way that the FMN view it. what is actually, yes, the gas is supplied to all power generator at subsidized price, but that gas is passed through, which is supposed to go to the consumer, all right? If you are talking about the first generation's IPP is making a lot of profit, I'm not going to argue with you, all right? All right. But you must understand, that seems to be the case in the press that seems to think that there's a subsidy to IPPs. I think Dr. Razak will agree with me, there is no subsidy, all right? In fact, if the IPPs or any power generators are not efficient to whatever they grant on, they will lose. They will lose in terms of at least usage of fuel, all right? If they are more efficient, there's certain amount of advantage, but even that is actually cut to some of them, is it? All right? See, that is a misconception. And I seem to see that the thing is being perpetuated in the press, maybe for political reasons, for whatever, it seems to be the case, is it?
Let me just sort of say something else. Total volume of gas is consumed by the power sector, let's say it's about 1,200 MSCF per day. This whole volume is being supplied to TNB at a price which is controlled or gazetted by government. That's fixed. There's no way that anybody can make money out of this. Out of this bulk allocation to TNB, TNB then will allocate to the various generators based on the merit of their performance. If they are not efficient, they will not be given the volume. On the other hand, if they're also down on maintenance, they don't get volume. And everybody pays back to TNB. This is against the contract that has been signed between TNB off-taker and the IPP based on a certain heat rate that is embedded in the contract. So if ever there's one message that you take home out of this room is that IPPs do not enjoy any subsidy on the gas price. Full stop. I repeat, IPPs do not enjoy any subsidy out of the subsidized gas price.